We know that things are exaggerated on the internet all the time. The problem is when people don't realize that the things that they see on the internet about how to learn a language are really exaggerated and really unrealistic. So in this video, I'm going to point out a few things that I have learned about language learning over the years thanks to the internet and why they're really unrealistic. If you're new here, hi. My name is Jamie, I'm a language coach, and my job is helping online language learners stay consistent in their language learning long term by helping them find the approach and strategies that work for them. So if that sounds good to you, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video every Wednesday. The first thing that people on the internet say that they do to learn a language but is completely unrealistic is learning a language for 8 hours a day. Now when I say it out loud, that sounds ridiculous and why would anybody believe it? But the thing is, I absolutely did, because there are a lot of people on the internet who don't say it outright, it's just kind of lightly implied, because it follows along with the whole hustle culture thing that, you know, if you're really committed, you will sit there and you will study for an hour, 2 hours, up to 8 hours every single day. Thing is, who has 8 hours a day to study? I don't. Most people don't. Most people have jobs, they have school, they have responsibilities, they have children, they have families, they have health issues. And if you do not have the privilege to spend 8 hours every single day studying your language, that's not a reflection on you, that's a reflection of what people say on the internet. Because in reality, for most of us, language learning is a hobby. And there is no metric of success for a hobby. A hobby is something that you do because you enjoy it. Not only that, but learning a language for 8 hours a day is highly unnecessary. I mean, I know I couldn't do it. I can't sit down for 8 hours and focus on one thing. My brain's not gonna do that. And even if I could sit down and focus for 8 hours a day, there's only so much that your brain can take in at once. Don't forget that resting is a hugely important part of learning a language or learning anything really. Resting your brain is not a waste of time. In fact, it's really necessary because it allows your brain to digest new information. And you'll know this if you ever try really, really hard to master something difficult and you just wouldn't get it in your brain until you gave up, and then you came back to it like a day later or a week later and all of a sudden you understood it. That's the power of rest. The second really highly exaggerated ideal about learning a language is getting fluent in 24 hours, 3 days, 7 days, 30 days, whatever number that they throw out at you. If you're not familiar with my channel, it's important for you to know that we don't talk about fluency in a specific amount of time ever, at least not seriously. And that's for a variety of different reasons. For one, there is no concrete definition of the word fluency. It doesn't mean anything concrete. It's more of a feeling than anything else. So it's not a really effective way to announce how skilled you are in a language. For two, this idea focuses on learning a language to check off a box on your to-do list, when that's not how I like to talk about language learning. Language learning is a journey and not a destination. It's something that you do long term, consistently, that you enjoy, and you come back to it day after day after day. You don't just sit down, take in a few vocab words, and bam, you're fluent. And for three, there are so many factors that go into your ability to learn a language, any particular language. Factors like your native language, any related languages that you do or don't know, how much time you have, the methods that you're using to learn, how much you can expose yourself to it, your mindset. So it's totally unfair to decide to learn a language in a certain amount of time because there is no rule book, there is no law, there is no scientifically proven pathway to learn a language in a certain amount of time. That's not how language learning works. The only reason why people say that is that so that they can get views on YouTube. The next super toxic idea about language learning on the internet is watch me speak 73 languages. This is super toxic. Well, it can be super toxic, and for the most part, generally speaking, they are. Because for one, it's super easy to memorize a few key phrases or read a script or any number of things to show that you learned this language, especially when it's a language that your viewers are not familiar with. If you have never heard or seen or not familiar with a particular language whatsoever, it's not going to take much to be impressive and, lead you to assume that they are an expert, advanced level speaker in that language. And also, you don't have to prove your language learning to anybody. You don't have to show off your ability to learn a language. It's not about other people. It's not about proving yourself, or it shouldn't be, at least in my opinion. It should be about learning new things and challenging yourself and finding your own sense of pride, and not having other people tell you how smart you are or how proud you should be. And of course, while there's nothing wrong with being proud of your achievements and being proud of your ability to communicate in another language, when that's the forefront of your motivation to learn a language, it's pretty surface level, and it's not the same. And that's not the kind of thing that we talk about or look for here on this channel. Which of these bothers you the most? Let me know in the comment section below. The next toxic idea is, I learned 403 languages with this method and you can too. Now, this isn't to say that people who say that have methods that don't work. That's not at all what I'm getting at, because obviously they do. And this is made abundantly clear by 5 zillion reviews talking about how amazing this method is. And while it's awesome that that particular method works for any number of people, it's not going to work for everybody. I mean, it's like saying this is my favorite book, and so it's probably going to be your favorite book too, even if I like nonfiction and biographies, but you like fairy tales and fantasy. Different people are different. Different people have different needs. Different people want to experience different things. You may not have the patience to read a biography, and I might not have the imagination to read a fantasy. Neither one of us is wrong, we're just different, and the same goes for all these different language learning strategies. These differences need to be acknowledged, as opposed to, wow, this worked for so many people, but it doesn't work for me, so it must mean something's wrong with me, right? Nope. And on that note, the next toxic concept is, learning languages in school isn't effective, but this new unique method is. Here's the thing. It's a very, very common experience to learn languages in school and then not be able to express yourself with that language, with that knowledge that you've learned. In fact, it's more common than not. It may seem like learning a language in school is not effective, but in reality, it's that it's not effective for your goals. It's not effective for what you want to be able to do with the language. And because people's experiences with language learning are so complicated and difficult, it may seem like language learning is like this mystical, illogical thing. And so it's easy for people to proclaim that their new, unique, special, modern method is really special and modern and like never before seen. But language is language. Brains are brains. People have been learning languages for literally centuries, and the only thing that's really changed recently is the accessibility that comes with new technology. Things like chatbots, augmented reality, things like that that can help bring immersion to you easily to your home without you actually having to go abroad and talk to native speakers. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but the basic idea is that you don't have to take a super high-tech, modern-day approach to language learning, and in fact, a lot of the time you shouldn't. And that really just depends on your needs. And the 6th really toxic idea is learn a language just by reading books or watching movies or whatever really fun, enjoyable activity. These claims aren't incorrect and they're not lying. However, for one, just like the term fluency, the term learn a language is also really vague and doesn't really mean anything specific. You learn a language in school. Can you have a conversation with that language that you learned? Probably not. Can you understand other people speaking with the language that you learned in school? Probably not. But yes, you still learn a language, just not in the way that you want to have learned. So when they say learn a language by reading these books, what they really mean is improve your reading skills. They don't mean be able to have a conversation. They don't mean be able to understand your in-laws. They specifically mean if you use this book to learn a language, you are using this book to improve your abilities to read the language, which is fine. Not to say there's anything wrong with that, but you have to really be aware of how you're seeing these courses and these products. Not only that, there are a zillion ways to enjoy your language learning, and you absolutely should, 100%. That should be at like the total forefront of your language learning, is making sure that you're doing activities that you genuinely enjoy. However, language learning is also a multifaceted thing. It includes a whole lot of different factors, and in like 9 out of 10 scenarios, you're not going to be able to learn as much as you want to learn using just one approach, one resource, one strategy. For example, even if you throw yourself into native speaking communities and just figure out how to have conversations on your own, which sounds super traumatizing, but you know, whatever, you'll still likely spend time reviewing vocabulary, watching TV, reading the newspaper, listening to announcements, all sorts of things. It's not one explicit path. All of those different things mean the same thing as learn a language. It's just the end result that changes. So even with all of these voices on the internet saying all different things about language learning that may or may not be true, how do you know where to go for yourself? How do you know which path to take for the result that you're looking for? This is exactly what I teach in my 90-day coaching program called The Method. It's broken up into 3 phases where you learn what exactly your goals are, which resources and strategies to use to accomplish those goals, and how to stay consistent in the long term so that you absolutely will accomplish those goals. Click the link below in the description to learn more about the method. And if you like this video, check out these videos next. Otherwise, have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. That was a lot. Oh, that was a lot.